Coach, and then open it up for questions.
All right, thank you. Y'all ready? Have Ole Miss there at noon in Oxford. A really explosive offensive football team. Matt Luke, their head football coach, was previously the offensive line coach, and the guys up front that really jump out at you. Obviously, Little, the left tackle, is an outstanding player. Patterson, the left guard, and Rawlings, the center. Probably his left side of the line as good as we've faced, but they're really good up front. Jordan Ta'amu is a quarterback who's got tremendous arm talent, but can hurt you with his legs. They do a really good job of using him situationally in the run game, but very effective and completing over 60% of his balls, and a lot of the balls he's completing are vertical balls down the field. Scotty Phillips has been a really good addition for him at the running back position from Jones Junior College, and A.J. Brown is a fantastic player, a guy that big, strong, physical, catches the ball off of his body, attacks the football, but one of the better receivers, obviously, in college football. DeMarcus Lodge is an outstanding player. Dawson Knox is a really good tight end that they utilize in the passing game and obviously in some of the run game that they do. But really a very explosive offensive football team. Defensively, probably Benito Jones is probably one of the better players we've played as an inside player. Has been a really good football player for him. Josiah Coatney's another young man we recruited here. So we know a lot about him. They've had some struggles on defense, but Coach McGriff's got him playing extremely hard. Injury-wise, Dennis Daly's probably doubtful for this weekend. He did not practice today. He's in a boot to keep the swelling down, and we're going to look at him again tomorrow, but I would say he's probably doubtful. Randricus Davis and Chad Terrell are day-to-day. JT Ebay and Nick Harvey are out. So I'll open it up for any questions.
Will, you mentioned the slow starts before. How imperative is it that you guys get out quick and get some points on the board, considering what their offense can do?
Well, I think, again, they can score in bunches and they can score quickly. They've shown that over the last 2 years. They've been very effective scoring points and on everybody. So I think getting out of the gates is strong, playing real well in the middle strong, and finishing up is pretty strong too. So we need to do all three.
Well, back here, with an offense that you say is really explosive, we've seen on tape all year long, they can put up points in bunches. Is it a situation offensively for you guys where you want to kind of slow things down and kind of have these long, methodical drives, or do you still want to go with the hurry up and kind of take the points where you can?
Mike, we want to be effective, and whether that's mixing tempo, I think that we've done a really good job of playing fast at opportune times in the game. And I look at last Saturday night, and we had some opportunities when we hit some plays to get on the ball and play fast, and we were very effective when we did that. So that's something we're going to continue to do. I think the flow of the game dictates a lot of that, and I think Brian's has a very good feel of when we need to play fast and when we don't. But that obviously will be discussed on game day.
Stand back with Joe.
Coach, up here, I guess with your secondary, I know you've had injuries there, and trying to get guys, to develop. And you guys have another tough matchup given this passing attack. But did the Tennessee game going against those receivers, did that maybe help you at all as you guys face another good group of receivers?
Well, I think anytime young players, when you talk in terms of, J.C. Horn and R.J. Roderick and Israel, all true freshmen, when they have opportunities to play under the lights in front of 80,000 people, you're always going to make improvements. And their experience, this is a developmental game. Their experience and every snap the game continues to slow down for them. And so there's no doubt about it. The more snaps you get, the more effective you're going to be. Javon Charleston, all of those guys that maybe haven't played as much college football, the more snaps they're going to get, the game continues to slow down for them. So it certainly helps.
To the right, Colin.
Coach, you mentioned if Dennis isn't able to go, is Malik Young the guy after him?
Malik played very well. Was our offensive lineman of the week. I thought came in and really played well and has played good football for us, and he'll play left tackle. Absolutely.
I guess, how nice is it to have a guy like Malik who's played a lot of snaps over his career come in if a guy doesn't have to go down? Right.
Well, Malik's been a great teammate, has worked extremely hard to put himself in a position. And I talk to the players all the time about when your number's called, be ready to go, be ready to play at a high level, and certainly he did that. I think Dennis played the first 12 snaps, and Malik came in and played a really good football game for us.
Right to the back and Will.
How much does having lineage in the SEC, not just with you but your assistants, help when you go up against these teams in conference that you probably haven't seen, and the fact that a lot of these guys have changed spots at different places, does it make it easier to scheme for that?
I don't know that maybe it's just to the SEC. I think an experience overall, when you've seen a coordinator before, obviously it gives you good insight to what they like and what they don't like. And we've spent a lot of time in the summer because they are new. Coach McGriff, is his first time as a coordinator at Ole Miss, and Coach Longo as well. So those are guys that we've researched and looked at and see the things that they like to do on each side. But it goes back to players at the end of the day, and what they're asking their players to do might be different from Sam Houston or wherever they've been before, as far as what they're asking their guys to do. So we've done some research in the off season. We spend a lot of time looking at those things to kind of have a little bit of a book on someone. And so when we get to game week, we're able to go back and reference the things that we've seen on film before, and where does that fit with this football team that they have right now. So yeah, we spend a lot of that time on that. But I don't know that lineage in the SEC has anything to do with it.
To the right, and Gene.
Well, Jake was saying that he really liked having BMAC on the sideline, and he said he thought it was even better for the receivers. What's your thinking on that and going forward, and whose idea was it?
Well, it's really BMAC came to me after the A&M game. We have not been as productive as we need to be at the receiver position for whatever reason. And it wasn't that we weren't getting information to them or whatever. I mean, he felt like he needed to be on the field with them. With them. And because of the Missouri game situation with the headsets, he called I thought, a very good game when he was down on the field. And it's all about seeing the game. Can you see the game? And if you're able to handle that on the field, because it's a lot more hectic on the field than it is sitting in a press box. And I thought he did a really good job the other night calling the game, and he did a really good job against Missouri. So we'll continue to move forward. I thought we played better at the receiver position, and the players seemed to be receptive to it. So that's what works.
To the back again, and Mike.
Will, obviously DJ coming back from injury has the game that he has. On the other side, Dylan makes his first career start, gets honored as well. How neat is that, though, to be able to see that, especially since it's the first time that brothers have been honored by the SEC in the same
Right.
week?
Well, both guys are, talented players. Thank goodness for their mom, Consuela, not their father. Make sure he sees that. But then a senior. But they are really talented players. Getting DJ back and his leadership role, and I think the intangibles, as much as anything, help our football team. Obviously, he's a good, productive player, but he gives a lot to our team as far as that. And Dylan's got a huge upside. He's a really talented guy. To be a massive man and to have the athleticism and the change of direction and the punch and power, the flexibility in his lower body. Just a matter of time before he started to get it and it started to click for him and the game starts to slow down for him and to put him in those situations. But he's going to be a good player. Needs to continue to work. DJ's got a great work ethic, and Dylan's a young player that's developing that.
Back to David.
Will, with just some of the, I guess, inconsistency in the secondary, is that something where you guys try to scheme maybe more up front to try to get a better pass rush and maybe save those guys a little bit of effort?
Well, I mean, again, I think that we're going to face a really good offensive line, and they've been limited, as far as pressures on the quarterback. Number one, the ball's out pretty quickly. Number two, the quarterback does a good job of evading and feeling the rush and creating some things with his legs, which is another issue. But we're going to do what we do, and I think that being able to mix 4, 3, and 5-man pressure. To be able to mix split safety and middle field and try and disguise as much as you can, which is difficult when you play a tempo team because you better get your cleats in the dirt and get ready to play. So those are all things that we discuss in the game plan process. But we'll try and come up with a new thing or here or there, which we do every week, and on both sides of the ball, and see if we can catch them off guard at times. But it all comes down to execution. And when you play a team like this, a lot comes down to communication. Because if you get out of position against a guy like AJ or Lodge outside, it's probably going to end up in a touchdown.
Up front to Ben.
Would you say your guys' last game was maybe your best in terms of going up tempo? Because it seemed like you guys kind of, when the run game was going, they were snapping it 30, 25 seconds left on the clock pretty consistently.
Well, I think that obviously, Ben, it helps when you're being able to run the football. When you're able to get positive yards, you don't get into a negative situation. You're not battling behind the sticks. But when you're able to stay ahead of the sticks, tempo works wonderfully well. So because of our success running the ball. And I think if you go back in the games, we've had some success running the ball. The first half against A&M, the last ball game, Vanderbilt. I mean, there's been some games that we've executed tempo much better, but I think a lot of that was because of the run game or because of an explosive play.
Back to the back, Mike.
Yeah, going off of that, well, when you looked at the tape from Saturday night, why were you guys so effective running the football?
Well, again, I thought that, when I said after the game, I felt first time consistently our backs made people miss, ran through contact in a league game. And so consistently well, not one or two times. And I thought that we saw that multiple times in the game. They played a lot of split safety coverage because of our receivers. So they wanted to roll up, and they were short a hat at times in the box. We've done a good job in the run game of getting a hat on a hat, and we had favorable run boxes in the game more than we had anticipated going into the game. So I think those two things attributed as much as anything else.
Josh.
When was the last time, if ever, you called a game from the box?
I never have.
Is there a difference between doing it as a defensive coordinator and an offensive coordinator, and is there a reason for that difference, you think? It seems like more OCs call from the box than DCs, right?
I don't know that's right. Have you researched that, or are you just throwing that out?
And that's just completely off the top of my head. That's based on
Well,
my.
off the top of your head, that's interesting, but
There's plenty of room up there for fault.
no, I don't. I'm just trying in my mind. I'm just going in our league right now, just off the top of my head. I mean, I would probably say there's more offensive coordinators in the box than just
That would have been my
off the
thought.
top of my head.
Now, how important, if you're calling plays from the field, is the guy that you? Is there always one
There's
person
one guy
you
in the box
communicate with that says this is what's happening?
essential to ball position, hash, down and distance.
How do you?
for an offensive coordinator?
Right. How do you find that guy? And you said it's Pat Washington, but why is it Pat? Because he and Brian communicate better, or because he's got the most experience, or?
Well, no, it's Pat from the standpoint of where everyone is assigned to something.
Right.
So from a standpoint, that's Pat's assignment of what he's got to watch. Obviously, we've got people in the box watching one side of the coverage, whether it's to our bench or away from our bench. We've got two people assigned to up front. Where's the at the point of attack in the run game, backside of the run game, and flow of the linebackers. So we're watching all those different people. So it's not just watching the game. You're watching a certain spot. So if there is a breakdown, it's a communication of we missed 3 technique. The 5 technique squeezed. They brought 4 from a side in this situation. So that conversation happens very quickly because you want to know as a coordinator, what happened here, because he's thinking about the next play and third down situation. I mean, all the situational things that come up. No different on defense. You're thinking in terms of field position. Do I have a hash? Do I not have a hash? Because we have some field and bench calls. We have some formational defenses that we face, that we play. Substitution. What is the personnel in the game? That's a huge part of calling a defense is what is the personnel in the game. Kyle Krantz does that for us and is good as anybody I've been around as far as communicating the personnel in the game, because all of our calls hinge on what's in the game. We don't just call a defense for everything. So those things are really, really important. Down and distance, field position, hash, flow of the game, all of those things there's a lot going into it.
What information does Brian get pre-snap? Because does he get the same thing, personnel?
Down and distance, hash, those are the things we're talking about.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Good, Gene.
Well, what do you think it is that Jake seems to play a little better from behind in the second half, and maybe even when he's more under pressure than in a clean pocket at the start of the game?
I don't know that I've got a good answer for that. Something we've talked about as a staff, and maybe some adjustments we'll see moving forward this week. So, again, we've exhausted us a lot. I don't know that it's on one person. I think it's unfair to say it's because of one person that he plays extremely well in pressure situations. Well, other people have to play well too. So I don't know that it's one person. I would say offensively, what do we need to do to improve to have better starts to games? And that's something we discussed, and maybe some adjustments we'll look at Saturday.
Is it kind of a positive in a way too, that he can get the best out of himself under pressure?
Well, I think that our entire offense did not press the other night. We didn't panic. And I think that we've shown that resolve multiple times in our time here, that under duress to try and, as coaches, put our players in the best situation to be successful, and then our players executing in those situations.
Go to the left and Hale.
You've never faced Ole Miss as a head coach, right? Is that right? And South Carolina hadn't played them in almost a decade. Is there anything the league can do, should do to help keep that from?
What was that? I'm sorry, Hale. Go ahead.
Is there anything the league can do, should do to help keep those big gaps between opponents?
It's hard when you
Across the-
expand. When you expand to the larger divisions or conferences, it's just harder and harder. And there's a lot of people that clamor for certain rivalries to never come out of our league, which I agree with. I'm an SEC guy. I've been in this league for a long time, a traditionalist. That there's certain rivalries that need to remain intact. When you expand, those happens, and we don't have Nebraska, Oklahoma anymore. I mean, that was a great game. You think back to all the great games, but that's part of the expansion, and then you get in the argument of scheduling, and do we need to be a 9-schedule team? Do we need to have a rotator? Do we need to rotate 2? I mean, there's just a lot of, we got some people that don't agree on what the division should be. So that's what Commissioner Sankey and his staff are in charge of, and I'll let them handle all that.
Yeah, and it's more of like a summer conversation anyway.
What's that?
It's more of a summertime conversation anyway, I guess.
Well, we'll probably discuss it again.
Yeah. And other than Corey Banks, have any other players on your team expressed desire to transfer?
Jesus Gibbs and I had a conversation yesterday. He's going to transfer, and wish him the best.
Go to Rick on the right.
Well, in all your experiences as a defensive player and a defensive coach, what effect does it have on the defense when you see your offense out there running the ball, manhandling the other defense? What kind of effect does it have on just the attitude and the spirit of the defense?
Well, it helps tremendously, Rick. I mean, there's no doubt that, number one, rest time is concerned of being able to get your feet back up underneath you. And from whether it's running the ball or hitting an explosive play, the emotional charge, the psychological charge it can give a football team, not just a defense, an entire football team, the positive impact it can have for your team. And to be able to hit the big ball over the top, to be able to run the ball effectively, there's no question it helps your team.
Go to Ben.
What has it been like watching Mondenson kind of go through this year battling that hamstring, and what kind of late in that game against Tennessee made you say he's kind of the guy to go, and what was it kind of like watching him succeed the way he did?
Well, he deserved the opportunity because of the way he's practiced, and he's had a tough time with a hamstring. It's been frustrating for him. It's frustrating for us. We've missed him on special teams as well. We haven't been able to really get him back on teams. He hasn't been able to rep as much, but we felt good about his, preparation at the running back position going in the game and given the opportunity. You got to produce. We tell our guys all the time, when your number's called, you got to produce. And he produced extremely well and gave us more and more confidence to give him some more opportunities.
Mike in the back.
Well, I think this is the first time Carolina's played a morning game since 2015.
No, we're playing at noon.
Oh, right. Well,
It's playing at noon. It's our clocks.
Gotcha. So that's kind of my question. How do you go from one of the latest kicks in the SEC to one of the earliest? Do you change anything during the week?
Our guys are in the building at 6 a.m. while y'all are still sleeping. All right, so they're having breakfast at 6. We have meetings start at 7. I had a leadership group meeting at 6:45 this morning. Everybody's early. Everybody's there. Everybody's getting ready to go. So that's what we do every single day. So the best thing, the feeling I have on game day for a noon kick, is when we're in pregame meal and there's a lot of noise, because our guys are up and they're ready to go. But we're like that every day. So that's a good thing. That's an advantage we should have.
Go back to Mike and then Will.
Will, off the game subject just for a minute. I know you said Ray Tanner's taking care of the 12th game. I just didn't know if you would have any idea when that deadline is, because I know some fans are just curious when they would possibly find out.
I know Coach is working harder than you would imagine, trying to get it done as soon as possible. But it wasn't like the entire college football shut down that weekend. It was just really a certain region and only a handful of teams. So he's working through that right now and spending a lot more time than he probably wants to on it. But we're going to play a game on December 1st, and who that will be, I don't know. I'm hoping within a time frame of 2 weeks maybe, but I don't want to say anything, and it becomes 2.5 weeks, and all of a sudden we're panicking. So he's going to handle it and get it done.
As far as just if there's anything you can take from, say, that Vanderbilt game where you started out well, is there anything you can take from that to kind of bottle up and take in, especially with being a road game and being able to try and start well?
Well, we do that if we knew that was going to happen. We do it every week, right?
I understand.
Okay.
And on defense, as far as trying to make sure when you're going up against tempo, is there any specific set of rules you give on your defensive side of the football to make sure that, if you're in a situation where they're going up tempo and you have to call something base, how do you go about teaching that, imparting that on the guys?
Well, we face our offense, which we do tempo periods every day against our offense. So that's part of our preparation and practice for this game. But the more and more you rep something, the more you become comfortable with it. And when tempo started back when I was a coordinator at LSU, it was a problem because they went fast and you weren't used to it. Back then we used to actually huddled on defense and had a guy call the defense and clap the hands and then break the huddle. And we haven't huddled now for I couldn't tell you how many years. So it's just what you see every day is what you become comfortable with. You need to be – it's a spot-the-ball mentality. You've got to be running back to where the ball is or where your position's going to be to the ball. You've got to get your eyes to the sideline. You got to get the call. There is no I didn't get the call. And then you got to communicate the call, especially to the guys on the far sideline from our bench. So those are all things that we talk to our guys about. But the biggest thing to me is having a spot-the-ball mentality. There's no celebration. The ball's down and you are running back to your position to get aligned, to get your eyes in the right spot, to get the call. Because the quicker you get the call and the quicker you compute the call, the better you're going to have your eyes and your assignment and alignment and responsibility of what you need to do to execute. So those are things we talk to our guys about.
Anything else for Coach? Ben?
Couple quick ones. The toss play that you guys ran, you guys would classify that as a G down play with the guard kicking out like that?
Yes.
Okay. And what kind of stands out with Phil Longo's offense, scheme-wise, what they try to do?
Well, tempo, number one. I mean, they play extremely fast. RPOs, a lot of run play, pass options for the quarterback, multiple route concepts from that, and multiple ways to create one-on-one matchups down the field with very good players and an accurate quarterback. The first thing that jumps out at you is tempo. But I think they run the ball extremely well. They run gap schemes. They obviously have their zone schemes that they have, but they mix the running game really well. But they've got RPOs off every run action that they have. So you really got to do a good job with your eyes and train your eyes to be in the right spots.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks.